Tonight, we're turning our attention to one of America's most celebrated natural wonders, the Appalachian Trail. You know, thousands hike it every year. They're looking for peace, maybe some personal growth, chasing that beauty.
Right.
But tonight, we're doing a different kind of deep dive. We're looking at true accounts of terror, not from, like, the wilderness itself, but from the human darkness that kind of thrives in isolation.
Yeah, the Appalachians are definitely known for their transformative power. It's that duality, you know. A lot of hikers find something good, clarity maybe. But for others, that sheer isolation, the lack of, well, accountability. It can act like a pressure cooker. It changes people in really toxic ways, lets out a shadow self that, you know, civilization usually keeps locked down.
So our mission tonight is to share 5 pretty shocking accounts. They span centuries, actually, and decades, and they really prove that the biggest fear out there in the wild, it often comes from other people.
There ain't no kind of fear like the fear your fellow man can give you, as the saying goes.
Exactly. We want to understand what's going on psychologically here. So let's unpack this, starting with that immediate, like, visceral terror of stumbling onto someone who's just broken.
Yeah.
Broken under the mountain's influence.
Well, if you look at these stories, there's this recurring theme, right?
Yeah.
People losing their grip. And it's not just like general strangeness. It often gets very territorial, like a kind of frontier paranoia, you know?
Yeah.
Anyone who stumbles in is seen as a threat to their little refuge.
And sometimes you walk right into it. This first account, it's from a solo hiker, late 90s, Great Smoky Mountains. Experienced guy, but maybe a bit cocky, trying to beat bad weather by going off trail.
Which is always a risk.
Big risk. And any hiker knows wet feet out there. That's basically a death sentence. You need to be able to move.
It's the Achilles heel, really.
Yeah.
You can't move comfortably. You can't escape danger. You can't stay warm. It's just critical, a total failure point.
So this huge downpour hits. He's desperate. Finds what looks like a shallow cave, maybe more of a rock shelter. A godsend, he called it. He gets inside, strips down, changes into dry clothes, just focused on surviving, you know. But then the rain slows down. Boredom, curiosity kicks in.
Oh.
He realizes the cave narrows at the back, turns into the small passage you'd have to crawl through.
Okay, wait. He just survived a near miss, and now he's crawling into some unknown dark hole?
I know, right? But I guess that's the adventurer mindset. Got to see what's around the corner. Which, in this case, led to something terrifying.
I bet.
He crawls through, emerges into the small rock chamber. First thing he sees, signs someone's been there recently. A filthy bedroll, looked pretty modern.
Okay, squatter maybe?
Maybe. But then he looks at the walls. Whoever lived there had spent, God, an unimaginable amount of time just scratching up the stone, covering every single inch with letters, words. He called it chicken scratch.
Not just graffiti then, like obsessive.
Totally obsessive, like unrelenting etching into the rock itself.
Wow. I mean, just trying to picture the mindset needed to do that. It's chilling. It's almost like ritualistic rather than just madness. Maybe trying to create some kind of psychological barrier. Right. Keep something in or out.
That line between madness and ritual got terrifyingly clear because lining the base of the wall were animal skulls. Lots of them. Raccoons, deer, even a bear skull.
Okay.
And right there, among them, was one skull that he said quite obviously belonged to a human being.
Whoa. Okay, so was this like an old burial site he stumbled on, or given the recent bedroll?
Exactly. That was the terrifying part. Was this collection actively maintained by whoever was using that bedroll? That suggests not just a broken mind, but a potentially murderous one.
Yeah, definitely.
He didn't stick around to find out. Rain or no rain, he was out of there immediately. Certain that the owner, someone he called unfit to be called human, was still active and probably coming back.
Smart move. That story really highlights how isolation can breed not just breakdown, but this really aggressive possessiveness of space.
Yeah. So if isolation breeds that kind of madness, what happens when the threat is more calculated, when it hides in plain sight? Let's pivot to a story about that. Takes us to a summer camp. Shenandoah National Park.
This one. It's such an insidious example, really, of how adults try to manage a terrible situation without terrifying children. The kind of threat assessment they must have been doing.
So for years, apparently, counselors at this camp had the kids play this kind of odd game called Invisible.
Invisible.
Yeah. When the call went out, Invisible! Every kid had to sprint back to their cabin, hide immediately, under the bunk, deep in a sleeping bag, wherever.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, the payoff was the cabin judged most invisible got extra treats. Marshmallows, s'mores, seemed like fun.
Like a game?
Exactly. But years later, the truth came out and it was horrifying.
Right. I remember reading about this. There was an escapee.
Yeah. A prisoner had escaped the RSW regional jail near Front Royal, and he was hiding out in the park, stealing food.
And he wasn't just like a petty thief, was he?
No, that's the critical part. This guy had been picked up before for trying to kidnap an elementary school girl in broad daylight.
Oh my God. So the counselors knew. They knew this predator was potentially right there near the kids.
They knew exactly what kind of threat was lurking just past the trees. But they couldn't just, announce it and cause mass panic.
Right.
So they created the invisible game. It was basically an elaborate safety drill disguised as fun, positive reinforcement for doing an immediate lockdown, training the kids without telling them why they needed to hide from a potential stalker.
It's incredible tactical thinking on the counselor's part. Under immense pressure, they didn't just hide the truth, they actively managed this high-threat situation. Probably sleepless nights keeping watch.
All while keeping up the appearance of a normal summer camp until they could shut it down early, get everyone out safely without traumatizing them.
Wow. Wow. The threat hidden inside a kid's game.
It's a powerful lesson, isn't it, about hidden dangers. And sometimes that hidden danger isn't a person lurking, but, a warning sent by someone who wants you gone.
Mm-hmm.
Our next account jumps to 2018. Near the Lignite ghost town, deep in the George Washington and Jefferson National Parks, a group of hikers went looking for these ruins. It's known for being really wild, really remote out there.
Yeah, Lignite attracts people exactly because it's so remote. But this story shows that being off-grid sometimes means you're stepping onto someone else's very well-guarded turf.
So after tough hiking, they make camp near the ruins. And the next morning, one of them nearly steps on this old, rusted bear trap.
Just lying there.
Yeah. They figured, okay, 100-year-old relic, maybe, until they decided to test it, poked it with a big chunk of old masonry they found. It snapped shut, violently, loud clang. They said they recoiled in horror.
Whoa. Okay, so not just a relic, still functional, lethal even. That realization alone must have been terrifying, knowing someone maybe left it there or still owned it.
Right. So they figured, okay, danger dealt with, let's get away from Lignite. They carefully hike about 5 miles away, set up camp at a different spot, Barber's Creek, thought they were safe.
Seems reasonable. 5 miles is a fair distance in that terrain.
But the next morning, one of the hikers is walking to their, designated bathroom area, and he finds something chilling.
Don't tell me.
A second rusty old bear trap lying right there, smack in the middle of the trail they'd all been using.
And it definitely wasn't there the day before.
Absolutely not. No way they could have missed it.
So someone followed them all the way from Lignite down to Barber's Creek.
Waited until dark and then silently laid another trap right where they knew the hikers would be walking.
This shifts everything, doesn't it? From finding an old artifact to realizing you're being actively stalked and threatened.
And here's the really interesting psychological bit. The trap wasn't hidden. It wasn't covered with leaves or anything. It was just laid out right in the open.
Like sending a message.
Exactly. Law enforcement apparently said later it looked less like an attempt to actually maim someone secretly and more like a very clear, very deliberate warning.
Get out. Don't come back. This is our territory.
Pretty much. And it worked. They were terrified. Packed up immediately, fled the trail, totally convinced someone was hunting them. Psychological warfare, really.
Wow. Effective.
Yeah.
Chillingly effective.
Okay, so we've seen isolation, breeding madness, hidden threats. Now let's move from that kind of modern territorialism to documented historical and modern depravity. We talk a lot about 20th century serial killers, but America's first. Their reign of terror was largely in the Appalachians, the Harpe Brothers.
Micah and Wiley Harpe. We're talking late 18th century.
Yeah.
Right after the Revolutionary War. And that context is important. They were Tories, loyalists to the British. So when the British lost, the Harpes fled into the Appalachian Mountains. And their violence wasn't just random. It was fueled by this deep resentment, this bitterness, this hatred for the new United States.
And their MO, their modus operandi, became this horrifying signature. They didn't just kill people for money or supplies.
More gratuitous.
Incredibly so. After they murdered men, like this guy Johnson or Peyton, they'd disembowel the victim, fill the chest cavity with rocks and stones.
And then urinate on the corpse. They did this multiple times. It was ritualistic desecration.
It was so extreme, apparently, that even other outlaws, hardened river pirates they tried to team up with, were disturbed by it.
Yeah, they actually got kicked out of one gang because the other outlaws were afraid the Harpe's level of just sheer evil would bring too much heat down on them from whatever law existed back then.
Their cruelty just seemed boundless. There's this one account. They slaughtered an entire family, 5 people. And Wiley Harpe later confessed. He said the worst part was the sound of the baby girl crying.
Oh, God.
Her wails of terror irritated him, he said, so he bashed her head against a tree to silence her.
It's hard to even process that level of calculated cruelty, just pure malice.
What does it say about the Appalachian frontier back then? That evil, that could operate for so long?
Just total lawlessness, I guess. Deep fear of even going into those hills.
It took a massive effort to stop them.
Yeah, the posse that went after them eventually grew to almost 100 men. A lot of them were grieving relatives of victims. When they finally cornered Micah Harpe, he confessed, admitted to maybe 20 murders.
And then
a man named Moses Still, whose family Micah had harmed, took matters into his own hands, took out a Bowie knife, severed Micah's head,
Jesus,
nailed it to a tree stump on a road that to this day is apparently still known as Harpe's Head Road, Frontier Justice.
A brutal end to a brutal life.
Yeah.
Unbelievable story.
Okay. Finally, let's turn to a tragedy from the more modern era.
Yeah.
1988, Maisho State Forest near the Appalachian Trail. The story of Rebecca White and Claudia Brenner, Virginia Tech students. Yeah. This one is just heartbreaking. And it's a really stark example of how the wilderness, sought out for privacy, for seclusion, became the stage for a very public, very hateful act.
The irony, too. The place they parked their car to start their hike, it was actually named Dead Woman's Hollow.
Chilling. Just incredibly chilling given what happened. They were just looking for solitude in this huge 85,000 acre forest.
They set up a primitive campsite. Then Rebecca had this brief but really disturbing encounter near a bathroom area with this gaunt, filthy-looking man. He just asked her for a cigarette.
Creepy enough on its own out there.
Definitely. They felt creeped out, packed up, moved their camp further down the trail. But later, they were checking their map, and they realized this same man was following them, deliberately tracking them along this remote trail.
Oh, no. That feeling. Realizing you're being hunted.
They tried to speed up, lose him, thought maybe they had. It created this false sense of security, you know? They finally settled down for the night, thinking they were safe. Alone.
But they weren't.
They weren't. The stalker, his name was Stephen Roy Carr, he'd slipped away, got his .22 rifle, came back, and as the couple was just cuddling, enjoying the quiet woods, Carr crept up and opened fire. Fired 8 shots.
8 shots.
5 hit Claudia Brenner. 3 hit Rebecca White. Carr just fled. Apparently, he was heard whooping and laughing as he ran off, found hunting humans exhilarating.
That's just monster.
Incredibly, Claudia survived, critically wounded, but she managed to limp for 3 miles down the trail to a main road to get help.
Unbelievable strength.
But by the time help got back to the campsite, Rebecca had died from her wounds.
Awful. Just awful. And Carr, when they caught him, his defense... He claimed in court he was just so enraged by the sight of 2 women making love, said he just lost his mind and started shooting. The classic gay panic defense, essentially. Utterly hateful.
Thankfully, the judge saw it for exactly what it was. A pathetic, homophobic excuse for murder. Stephen Roy Carr got life. No possibility of parole.
As he should have. It's a terrible reminder that sometimes the danger isn't madness or territory. It's just pure, calculated hate, finding an isolated place to erupt.
So we've looked at accounts across, 3 decades and 2 centuries here, but the lesson feels pretty stark, doesn't it? The Appalachian Trail, this place of beauty, it's also a place where human darkness, whether it's fueled by political rage or just malice or hate, it finds the space it needs, finds the isolation to amplify and to thrive.
Yeah, the silence out there, the isolation, it strips away civilization's veneer, doesn't it? The social rules that usually keep darker impulses in check. What really stands out across all these stories is how consistently the mountains seem to amplify the worst in people. It suggests that, the frontier might offer freedom, but you have to be acutely aware of the dangers that freedom can unlock in others.
Well, we hope this deep dive into the shadows of the Appalachian Trail has maybe given you some new insights into the pressures, the dangers hidden within this famous wilderness. If you enjoy these true accounts of horror and suspense, these deep dives into darkness, then please do hit like, share this story, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docx. That way you won't miss another story of true darkness. Until next time, stay vigilant out there.